Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your service. I advised your office in advance last night of concerns I have about coronavirus. I represent Military City, USA, San Antonio, Texas. My district is adjacent to Joint Base San Antonio and Lackland, where we've already hosted 2 plane loads of Americans evacuated from exposure to coronavirus. This afternoon or tomorrow, the Trump administration is apparently flying additional plane loads to San Antonio of people that have never been tested that are on the Grand Princess cruise ship without a very clear plan of what happens to those who test positive once they get to San Antonio. While I certainly want to assist all Americans, my concern is protecting my civilian population neighbors in San Antonio and, of course, every one of our military service members. I realize that it is not the Defense Department decision, though it is indeed an incredible decision that the Trump administration has chosen not to test any of these people before they leave California. I realize that it's not the Defense Department's decision, but the Trump administration's failure to get San Antonio more than 75 lab tests as of today. I realize it's not the Department of Defense decision, but a Trump administration failure to provide San Antonio additional protective medical equipment for our professional medical people. But my understanding is that it is within your jurisdiction to decide whether those individuals who test positive for coronavirus must immediately leave any Defense Department property. Is that the position of the Defense Department this morning?
So appreciate the question, and again, I understand and appreciate your support of our responsibility to help bring Americans safely home and quarantine them. So far, what the Department of Defense has been is we function in support of HHS. We provide the rooms to their specifications that allow us to quarantine individuals. We work with HHS on where they go from there. I know the Secretary's in discussions with HHS about the concern that you have raised. The challenges that we face on the Department side is severalfold. One is we have a very large force that we have to have prepared to fight tonight, and a relatively small medical community upon which to rely. And so,
and I understand all that and certainly appreciate and agree with you. My only question is it the Defense Department policy as of this morning that if anyone who I think should have been tested before they ever came to San Antonio gets there and they test positive but are otherwise asymptomatic and don't need treatment, are they being compelled to leave Defense Department property immediately upon a result of positive test?
That is my understanding of our current
and
policy.
You made reference to discussions between different parts of the Trump administration. Has Health and Human Services, has Secretary Azar and his people with CDC, have they requested that the Defense Department make an exception to this policy for these evacuees who are positive but not symptomatic?
So I don't know in terms of in the last 24 hours if there's been a request.
I was told they did it on earlier plane loads, but I haven't got any results of that. That's why I'm inquiring this morning.
I don't know about on this plane request.
As you know, in San Antonio, we're proud of the fact that we have some of the best military medical facilities in the world. At Brooke Army Medical Center, that we refer to as BAMSI, at Wilford Hall at Lackland. Is the Defense Department declining to permit anyone who has coronavirus from being treated in isolation in those military hospitals?
I don't know about those particular military hospitals. In general, we have treatment facilities for if a DoD person affected, but when our hospitals are generally not set up and there are congressional laws that restrict and affect our ability to bring private citizens in, and so I'd have to defer in terms of
if there is any law that you think stands in the way of treating these evacuees that have been forced on the city of San Antonio without good plans, without protective equipment, without the test having been done, I would really appreciate your office telling me what it is today. My understanding is it's Defense Department policy, and I respect that because I want to protect every service member so that they are ready to defend our country. But the problem is that moving evacuees who have coronavirus across San Antonio to local hospitals and other unknown destinations, since they don't know where they're even going to put these people once they're forced off the military reservation, is something that risks community spread in our community. And none of these evacuees have been previously tested. They may be asymptomatic, but they could well be, as has been true of some of the earlier flights, they could be positive and transmit this virus to I would really appreciate your going back. I know our city has appealed. I believe that our governor as well has raised this concern to see if there isn't a way to contain these people in the same hotels they've been sitting in. You've got some people that will be there today or tomorrow who probably are positive for coronavirus if the administration had bothered to test them in California. They will be there already, posing whatever danger they pose. The problem is when we start moving them all across Bexar County from one side of town to another and the danger that poses. And that's our great concern. And I appreciate your leadership, and I would just appeal to you to go back and see if there isn't a way to keep those individuals there without posing any real danger to our forces. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.